Hey guys, Ivory here, and today we are doing a full set on my friend Wendy. We're going to do a light volume, but for right now, I just want to show you guys how I actually tape down my clients. You can tape down two different ways. You can either use no iPads or iPads. I like to use the iPad because I feel like when you remove it off of their lashes at the bottom layer, it actually feels a lot better than you just pulling off tape. So there's two different ways how you can tape down the iPads. One, you can put tape on first and then put the iPad on, or two, you can put the iPad and then put the tape on top of it. I like to do either way. On Wendy, we want to do the tape on top of the iPad because her eyes are deep at the bottoms, so her line, she can definitely hold the tape in place with the iPad as well. So we're going to use my favorite iPad. I already have one side done. So you always tell them to look back at you. Look back. And you just brush it on the bottom layer just a little bit, just enough so when you do your taping that it does not overpower, the iPad does not overpower her bottom lashes. So when you're taping down, you don't want to use huge pieces of tape. When I see on Instagram, y'all be having them look like y'all going to surgery and they be mummies. You do not need huge pieces of tapes. You can use smaller pieces, will get you a lot farther. Anything with lashing, a little bit takes you a long way with anything. So you always tell them to look back at you, and you always want your tape to overlap itself. So then we're going to use another piece and just get the rest of it. Close your eyes and you should be able to see everything. Everything should be able to be visually seen so that you don't have any problems when you're actually starting your work, or when you're starting to actually lash. You should be able to see every nook and cranny of her eyes, which I can see right here. This is proper taping. So easy. Okay, so the style that we're going to do on Wendy today is open eye. I think open eye will look really great on her, and it's one of my favorite styles. Everything that we're going to use today on Wendy is from iLuxelash.com, from the lashes, the tweezers, the glue, even the tape is from iLuxe Lashes. Oh my goodness, everything. So please shop, and we're going to go into detail on how to use everything. So first we're going to get started with the curl. So we're going to use my favorite curl, CC curl. Everything today will be in 0.5 weights, okay? Everything, the whole set. And we're using 0.5 weights because we don't want to use 0.3s because we're not giving her a full-on volume, or we're not giving her a mega volume look. And 0.5 for a lighter volume, almost like a hybrid with no classics, will give her still a darker finish because of the amount of lashes that she has. And it will still give her a nice full look as well, giving her a dark finish. Not too dark as in 0.3s, but just the right amount of darkness, okay? So let's go into lengths that we're going to use on Wendy, okay? So 15 millimeters is going to be our longest length. Now, when you're doing open eye, you want to jump in lengths so that you can tell the difference in the longest length. And remember, the longest length is always in the middle. So we're going to go from 15 to 13s, okay? So we're going to do 13s on her outer corners, and on the outer corners, we're going to do 12 millimeters as well. For her inner corners, we're going to do 10 millimeters, 11 millimeters, 12 millimeters, and 13 millimeters as well, okay? Remember, we're using 0.5 weights. Also, we're going to use my favorite tweezers. These have not dropped on my website yet, but I love them. The L shape is perfect. And also, we're going to use my best-selling glue, liquid gold adhesive, which has a 0.5 to 1 second dry time, which is perfect if you're trying to fix that lash when you're placing it. Whether the lash is not sticking correctly, if you haven't wrapped it right, it's perfect to go back and fix it. And also for isolation, we're going to be using my favorite tiny tip tweezers, okay? I use tweezers because the tip is tiny enough to get in all of those nooks and crannies without you having to struggle to get there. So I like to use saline solution to clean, but here in Texas, I honestly feel like primer works a lot better. Saline solution, remember guys, saline solution is definitely salt based, whereas the primer is alcohol based. I'd be scared to use primer because it is alcohol based, it can strip the natural oils out of her lashes. But because it's so hot here in Texas, it might not be a bad thing. So I think I'm going to switch over to start using primer on my clients just due to the summer weather and the humidity. But saline solution is definitely good. It'll take off a layer without stripping it, and it'll still leave all her natural oils and nutrients within her lashes as well. It's just salt based, so if she cries, it might burn.
To myself, now you're the one I'm thinking of. My higher ground, my rocket love. For gravity, I'd rather stay up here. We can get away, palm trees, beach views on a night day. All I wanna hear is an visions how we play. Sit right next to you, not trying not to
Okay, so we have the longer lengths in the middle, so we're going to start gradually adding in the shorter lengths. So I'm going to do a few 14s and 15s in the middle, and then we're going to go down to 13s, 12s, and 11s and 10s for her outer corners. For her inner corners, of course, we're going to do 10s. I love to go short on the inner corners. It just looks more cohesive and it looks better. So for her outer lengths, it's always best to go shorter because the outer length lashes, they're always the lightest and most frail. So we're going to put 12s, and then we're going to put a lot of 13s and 12s on the ends, and then on the inner corners we'll do 10s, 11s, and 12s, and a few 13s here and there. So right now I'm adding on some 13s. I use the flowering cup because I love it. Well, it's not called a flowering cup, but that's what I call it. But I love it because it always makes sure your bases are nice and solid. Always remember to change out your glue every 20 to 30 minutes because it does get tacky from sitting in the cup, and just period. Like, you always want to make sure you're changing out your glue. That's how you get almost the best retention from your products. You have to remember to always change out your glue.
I know that I don't make things clear. I fall for you every time I try to resist. You get away. Palm trees, beach views, and everything. All I wanna do is send the pictures on replay. Still right next to you. You do it. Try not to show how I feel about you. You wish you were, but we don't really.
So right now I'm just adding 13s. I did my 15s and 14s for the middle. It's mainly 15s in the middle, but I like to mix it up with 14s just to give it a little texture. I'm big on texture with lashing. And remember, we're using 0.5s in the weight, so you don't have to put that many pieces of hair when you're making your fans. It can actually be smaller fans and still have a nice dark finish to it. These are 12s that we're putting on the ends. Let's go right into the inner corners. So for the inner corners, you're going to need a longer piece of tape than you would use for the bottom lashes. I just put my tape into 2 separate pieces. The second piece is just in case you might need it to pull more skin back. So let's start with the pulling it straight back method. This method is great for just pulling that extra skin back so that you can actually grab each piece of hair. The diagonal method helps you start to get those inner corners, and the straight across method is perfect for actually getting those pesky, annoying inner corners, and it actually opens up every piece of hair. It's actually a great method. For now, we're just going to do the pulling back straight back method, which is great. Taping the lashes down perfectly at the bottom is important. You do not want those inner corners to go underneath the tape, you thinking that you're lashing and you're done, and then you pull the tape back and you didn't get any inner corners. So pulling it straight back and making sure the bottom taping is perfect is imperative. Okay, so now we're going to start bringing in some 11. So this is 11 and C curl 0.5. And I'm just using this regular C curl instead of CC curl just to give her a little bit of texture. I'm really big on texture, so it's going to give her more of a flirty, wispy kind of look, like the jagged look.